Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jamal Saeed, and I'm holding this webinar from sunny Dubai. And I welcome you to this webinar. I see my friend Ahmed Saddiq, Imad Isa. Wow, you guys, how are you? How are you? How are things with you? I hope that you guys are doing well. I'm glad you are with us. We have Maha as well. Maha, great to hear you guys. Great to see you guys. This webinar is going to be one way, so I'm going to be talking, but please interact via chat. So by all means, while on the chat, make sure that you communicate, ask questions, don't hesitate. Now, let's go into the webinar. First, I want to thank you for being with us this afternoon. As I said, sunny Dubai, but the weather, you know, the thing about it is that the weather is getting better. And I think that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start getting fantastic weather in Dubai. So if you're planning on a trip or a journey or a vacation, come over here. Wonderful city, wonderful place. And even if you are in a distant place, I hope that you're having a great weekend. Now, the topic of today is developing and implementing a business plan. I think this is a fantastic, fantastic topic, not because I'm giving it, it's simply because it's very important today. And the thing about developing and implementing a business plan is that this is now in the heart of what we do. If you are very good at developing and implementing a business plan, this means that you are in a very good place. Why? Well, let me tell you why. Because developing and implementing a business plan has become almost a daily occurrence. We have so many ideas. You are coming up with lots of things. You are coming up with initiatives, and every initiative, every new idea, anything that you do requires a business plan. So let's dive into the topic. My name is Jamal Saeed, and I'm a partner with Meirc. Let me introduce very quickly the company. So, and by the way, we usually have an interactive feature here where we ask you questions. So what I will do is that when I get to the screen where the question is, please answer via the chat. We don't have a problem with that. But for some reason, the question and answer is not working very well these days, but we're working on fixing it. So if you haven't heard of Meirc, welcome. This is Meirc Training and Consulting, and this webinar is done through Meirc. Meirc is not a young company. It is young at heart, but it has been around for some time. We are 61 years old. Last year we celebrated 60 years. So, and I hope we celebrate 100 years. And I'm sure that when the company was created, somebody put a business plan. What is it that I want to do? What is the market asking for? Who is my target audience? How much should I sell this year? How much is my startup cost? So as you can see, these questions are an integral part of any business plan. And the thing about it is that you have to be very good at communicating the business plan. So here I gave you a hint. A business plan is a communication mechanism. That's why it's very important that when you put the business plan, you have to communicate it. And communicating a business plan is an essential part of delivering a business plan. So it's not enough just to develop it and implement it. You also have to communicate it. So a business plan is a communication mechanism as well. So Meirc has been around for some time. We are currently based in Dubai. This is our headquarters here, as you can see. We've been here since 1991, but the company was founded in Beirut in 1958. And then we now have offices in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and we have offices in Abu Dhabi. And, you know, I hope, and I'm very, very hopeful that our region, the Middle East, Africa region, will grow even more. And as we grow, I hope that we open more offices and other locations. So we also have a sister company which was created in 2014. It's Plus Training, and as you can see from the outline very quickly here, that it is a technical training company. Very, very good. We're doing very well in that area. So if you have any technical training, please visit us. You can visit our website and check under Meirc and under Plus what we can offer. I hope that we can cater to your needs. What is our vision and mission? Well, you know, very quickly, nothing, I want to jump into the topic, so I don't want to waste my time introducing the company here, but this is our vision over here. And the vision is an important part of any business plan, as you can imagine. And these are our values, the vision is over here, and these are our mission. So whenever you develop a business plan, you should be able to communicate what is it that you see, what is it that, how you're going to get there, because usually the mission here is how you're going to get there, and what values do you believe in. So as you can see, this is also an integral part of any business plan. This is the different portfolios of products. So as you can see, we have a lot of portfolios, and under each portfolio we have 15 above courses. So you can see where we get the 220 plus courses, and every year we introduce new ones. So please check our website on an ongoing basis and make sure that you are able to check our website and see if we can cater to your needs. Now, that being said, let me go ahead and give you a quick introduction about myself. For those who have been with us before, I want to thank you for being back with us, and it's great to have you. For those who are, for the first time they listen to this webinar, my name is Jamal Saeed, and I have an interesting background. For the big chunk of my life, I worked in the corporate world. I worked for 3 wonderful companies. Pepsi Cola International. I worked for Sun Microsystems and Cisco, and I learned a lot over there. And basically, coming to Meirc, I'm sharing my experience working with wonderful participants and sharing my experience on a number of fronts: leadership and management, project management, developing business plans, marketing and sales. So I have developed an interesting background, and I like to share it with those who come to our public courses, as well as those who are attending webinars with us. So I hope that I'm able to impact your knowledge. Moving on to the objective of this webinar. Well, basically, I will try to cover in our limited time because we're going to be together for almost an hour. So I'm going to try to explain the importance of a business plan. How do you analyze the environment, and what's the SWOT analysis all about? I will try to define the goals and KPIs associated with the business plan. And then, of course, how to organize your activities, because at the end of the day, when you implement, you have to organize your activities in order to make sure that we maximize your operational success. And then at the end of the day, how to report your success, because if you are, for example, a business owner and you are communicating your business, running your business, you have to communicate your success. If you need additional money, you have to communicate more success. The same thing with an employee who has an idea and they want to ask for more money, or they want to give the management an update on the progress. Also, it is worthwhile that you're able to provide some reporting on your activities. So defining a business plan. What is a business plan? So here comes our first question. So I'm going to ask you, and again, please answer by responding through the chat. So business plans are of strategic importance to a growing business. True or false? What do you think? You think that this is a true statement or a false statement? Ahmed already jumped in, so well done, Ahmed. That's very, very good. And I like your answer. And I'll give our attendees a chance to also share their input before I move on. So business plans are of strategic importance to a growing business. Now, of course, this is something that is true. Business plans are integral to the business, and yes, some of them are of strategic nature, some of them are operational nature. So what does this mean? So here we go. The definition of a business plan usually is that it is a written description of the business environment. So you have to explain the environment. It's a strategy, how you achieve your dream or your idea. Marketing, operational, and financial details. So marketing, how you're going to go about marketing your idea, tell people about it. Operational, how you're going to execute it. Financial, how you're going to get the money. And of course, most importantly, it's you, the resources. What kind of people we have, who we're going to hire, how we're going to train them, how we're going to get them to do the job. So a business plan is very important, okay? And as you can see already, that you are probably doing a business plan, but I hope that through this webinar, or if you attend our courses, we can give you an idea about the structure, the material, the tools that you can use. So basically, the business plan, as you can see, is a roadmap. So you're telling somebody an idea, and you're telling them how you're going to get there and how you're going to execute it. And I hope that through the effort that you're putting, you're showing them that you are capable to do it, and you believe in the idea, because this is also very, very important. That being said, there are different types of business plans, but of course, the business plan is from my perspective, the way I operate with it, is more comprehensive. Why? Because sometimes what we see a strategic plan. A strategic plan basically is what we see in the future. But when we talk about the operational side of things, you're telling them how you're going to execute it. So then what is a business plan? Well, the business plan is a combination of both. We combine the strategic side and the operational side, we put it together, and it becomes a business plan. So as you can see, the business plan is the comprehensive side of things. It combines both of them, and you tell the listener or the person, investor or whoever is on the other side, even your manager or director, that this is our strategy, and that's how we're going to execute it. So the strategy and the execution. Now, what does it mean? So when we talk about the business plan, it is a comprehensive document, as I mentioned, and it combines both elements. Let's go into the business plan overview. Here, what I do is I explain the components of the business plan, and some of these components are familiar to you. You may have seen it, and you wonder why it is there. So let me share with you an outline of a business plan, because this is very critical. But here comes a question to you. Let me see if you can see it. Developing a business plan does not require any specific structure. True or false? Now let me see. Let me see what kind of an answer you're going to give. Okay. Developing a business plan does not require any specific structure. All right. I want to welcome to the call as well Mr. Muhammad Kanawati. Muhammad, welcome. I also have Mr. Tariq. Tariq, welcome to the call. And I also have Dwan Kamal, also Karipech. Thank you, Dwan Kamal. Thank you for being with us. Great, guys, to have you. So as you can see, any business plan has to have a structure. A structure helps you put your ideas together. So that's why it's important that you have a structure. So what does the structure look like? Here we go. So for your own knowledge, here comes the structure. First of all, you have to have an executive summary. The person that you're talking to needs to know what your business plan is all about. However, the trick here is that the executive summary, you put it at the end. You don't write your business plan or the summary of your business plan right now. It comes first, but it's written last. Why? Well, because you have to describe your business, you have to do market situation analysis, you have to put strategic goals, you have to put objective KPIs and action plans, you have to put your funding request, you have to put your financial projections, and then you write your executive summaries. You see that? So it's very important that you do all of these things first, and then you put your executive summary. So even though the executive summary is at the beginning, usually it is done at the end, because after you have done everything from business description all the way to financial projections, you're telling your audience or the person who is on the other side of on the receiving end of your business plan, what is it that you want to do? So it's very critical that it summarizes it. You give a conclusion, but this conclusion, funny enough, is coming at the beginning. And by the way, it has to be very good. It has to be written in a very good way, very attractive. It has to be done in a way that captures the audience right away. So you have to really spend some time on it. And on top of that, it is a reflection of your understanding. So then how do we go about the business plan? So here we go. Usually, when we develop a business plan, we look at the following items. So first of all, executive summary, we said it. And also you have to provide a table of content. So you have to tell them what is the content of the table plan, and typically how you describe your business and all of these things, which we mentioned before. So the executive summary is very important, as you can see. It is extremely, extremely important. Why? Because most of the people that you share the business plan with usually only are happy with the first page. They don't go through the details. They leave the details for you. So they like to understand, what is it that you're selling me? If it is your boss, he wants to know about your idea. And you have to be very good with the rest. If it is an investor, let's say that you're starting a restaurant, or you're starting a car rental agency, or you're starting a production line, you want to start your own soft drink business, you want to start your own food business, whatever it is, you want to start your own software company, it doesn't matter. The investor most probably will concentrate on the first page or first couple of pages, and then if he needs or she needs any questions, they'll come back to you. So the executive summary is prepared at the end. It has to be presented at the beginning, and as the name indicates, it's a summary. So you cannot go and write hundreds and hundreds of pages. Those pages have to be done in a different place, in the other parts of the business plan. So with that is being done, what's the table of content? Well, you have seen table of contents from books, from your university days and everything, and you know what we're talking about. But funny enough, with the technology we have today, you can put up a table of content right away, but it has to reflect the sections that you have, which we mentioned at the beginning. So you have to tell them about all of these things that we talked about. And the table of content, for example, has to, reflect exactly what you have inside the business plan. Now, here we go. After we do this, you have to tell the company what you're describing. So the business description comes as the first stage. This is where you communicate your vision, the mission, and the values. And as a reminder, and from my strategy experience and what we teach here at and share with our participants at Meirc, it's very important you know that a vision is you're telling people what you see in the future. Mission is how you're going to get to that vision, and values are the foundations of your decision making and what you believe how you run your business should run. So as you can see, these things are very important, and these are the things that you tell your employees about. Now, here comes another question for you. Let me see. When developing the business plan, the focus should be internal, not external. True or false? Let me see if you can get this one. Okay. All right. So when developing the business plan, the focus should be internal, not external. True or false? All right. So Ahmed, well done. You answered very well. It is false. And I see that other people are jumping in as well and answering the question of false. Because remember, the business plan is you are serving something out there. So it's very important you understand what's going on out there. Let's say that you'd like to start a shoe company. Well, who's going to buy your shoes? So you're focusing on the external. Internal is your strengths and weaknesses. External is basically the opportunities and threats. So as you can see, it focuses on both. What does this mean? So here comes the question. When you are talking about your vision and mission, you have to give people a meaning. It is an opportunity to tell your employees what you need to do, and in many cases you empower them. It helps bring unity within the team. It provides focus. So when you're telling somebody about your vision and mission, you're telling them, why we are in this particular business market. It also provides continuity, how you're going to grow, and standards that you go by. So this means that you have to be, very, very good at expressing your vision and mission. And when we talk about the vision, please remember that there are certain things that you have to keep in mind. And then here comes the values as well. The values have to reflect the mission. They have to support the mission. Usually we don't have a lot of values because, you have to be realistic. 4 to 7 is more than enough, punchy, and they have to be worded uniquely. Now, here comes some examples here. For example, if you want to have a vision, mission, and values, these three, they have to be well articulated. This means that you have to have the support. Employees have to feel proud about it, and it has to create a sense of purpose. Visible means that you have to put these visions and missions in a place where people can see them. And on top of that, leadership have to believe in that as well. But you see a one at the bottom, which is repeated, and it says communicate, communicate, communicate. You see, one thing about business plans, for them to succeed, you have to keep reminding people why you're doing it. And one thing I learned, in my life is that when it comes to communication of business plans, you have to do it on a continuous basis. So that's why, please remember that it's very important you communicate your business plan. And as I said, it's a communication mechanism. So we go back to the question. We said that you have to look internally and externally. So this would take us to the SWOT analysis. And as you can see in the SWOT, you have the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And this is what we call the market analysis. As you can see here, it's the market analysis. I have a feeling that all of you on the call have done a SWOT analysis at some stage in your life. But let me remind you what the SWOT analysis is all about. When we look at the internal environment, you have to look at your strengths and your weaknesses. And then when you look at the external environment, you have to look at the opportunities and threats. Here, a very good example. Look at this one. Look how beautiful this sheet is. When you look at your strength, you're looking internally. This means that do you have the experience? Do you have the knowledge? Are there certain characteristics that are unique to you? Do you have the resources? Do you have the location? Do you have the competence, the capabilities? Do you have the quality and you have good reputation? So as you can see, these are strengths, they're all internal. This means that you are responsible 100% for all your strengths. The same thing on the weakness side. Do you have a gap in experience and knowledge? You don't have the money. Maybe, your team is not reliable enough yet. You have to train them, develop them. Or maybe your team is leaving you. Maybe you have lost a couple of people who are critical. So that's a weakness. So as you can see, these are the internal side of things. So when you're looking at your business plan, you have to look internally. However, on the other side, why are you putting the business plan? You have to look at the opportunities. And here we go. Externally, do you have any alliances? What are the opportunities out there? What is technology bringing us? Is the government supporting us? So all of these things are opportunities. Is the market growing very fast? Are the population growth good enough? On the other side, you also have the threats. Also, it's an external aspect where maybe you lost a partner, maybe the price inflation is very high, maybe competition is very strong, maybe the political influence is not very good, is not supportive. So as you can see, you have to look at an internal side from the internal perspective where you cover strengths and weaknesses. And you also have to look at the external side where you are covering the opportunities and threats. That being said, okay, how do you analyze these things? From an external perspective, we suggest always that you follow the pedestal. When you are looking at the opportunities and threats, look at the political side of things, you look at the economic, demographic, environmental aspects. You can also, or you should also look at the social side, technological and legal. And as you can see here, you have some wonderful questions that will help you answer these questions. For example, how will the current upcoming political situation affect us? Let's say that there's a new government coming in, and the government is supporting new business. Then maybe that's an opportunity for you to start your dream business. How about the economy? Let's say that the economy is very stable, interest rates are very low, then maybe you can get the money, because when interests are low, it's an opportunity for you to get some more money. The same thing with demography. For example, maybe we have lots of new children in the market. Maybe your business can focus on children food and you can sell more food like that. So when you answer these questions over here, it can help you look at your business plan and make sure that your business plan is focused. Once you do the assessment or the SWOT analysis, from the SWOT analysis, you should be able to extract some goals. Okay, so here comes the strategic goals. The strategic goals, typically or normally, we get them when we analyze the environment we're in, the internal side and the external side. So here comes the question for you. And I will see if you're good as Ahmed, because Ahmed has been answering all the questions correctly so far. Strategic goals are about capturing value and giving a competitive advantage over competition. True or false? So let me repeat the question. Strategic goals are about capturing value and giving a competitive advantage over competition. True or false? Well, Maha jumped in, so well done, Maha. Well, we have some competition here, and that's fantastic. So it is true in many ways. And also, Imad jumped in, so well done, Imad. That's very good. So yes, it is about giving yourself and being able to capture the value. And it is very critical that when your strategic goals are formed, you're trying to capture some value that will give you competitive advantage. Any business plan should be developed about why we are in the business, how can we be different, how can we secure market leadership. So this is very critical. So what does it mean then? A strategic goal, and this is the definition here, and this is for your own knowledge. A strategic goal, it is a broad, long-term, planned objective that an organization strives to achieve. Most senior management will take the time to develop and articulate appropriate strategic goals for their business in order to demonstrate to subordinate employees what their plans and vision for the company are. These are something that has to be achievable, and they have to be realistic, and they have to be projecting the business environment. So, first of all, strategic goals should have a future vision, they should be achievable, and they have to be clearly understood by everybody. Well, that's very good, but strategic goals should also help you answer the following. Look how beautiful this is. Any business plan should be able to answer these things through the strategic goals, because when you develop the strategic goal, you should be able to answer where to play. You know, how do I create and capture value? The second thing is, how do I win? What is my competitive advantage? The third question is, where are my resources best invested? So that's where you define your priorities. So if you answer these questions very, very clearly, and as a matter of fact, if you answer these questions as part of your presentation, I'm going to tell you one thing. You have a very good place with the people who are listening to you. Whether it is your boss or an investor, they will be very happy to know that you are really you are focusing very well and you're on the dot. Now, once we have the strategic goals, we have to do the following. So as you can see from this shot over here, that there are certain elements that go into a strategic goal. First of all, we need to look at the goal in terms of what alternatives, how to maximize the shareholder value, as well as where do I want to play. So this is very important to define the geographic area or the market segment. Competitive advantage. What is my positional advantage? What are the things that I should have? And what are my capability advantage? What are the things that I should do? And of course, the logic, how you're going to get there. Now, you can also start from the bottom up. I started from the top down, but you can also start from the bottom up to answer these things. And that's the main thing. The ultimate goal is to produce value and make yourself different. So you should be able to explain all of these things until you reach your goal. Now, if we look at the strategic goals, it is very important that where do they come from? So normally we see them in, they can be around organization and management. For example, we want to grow in a certain geographic area. It can be around service and product line. For example, you want to introduce a new product, a new dairy product, a new telephone, mobile phone, a new app if you want. If you have a new app, you can introduce new app. Marketing and sales. For example, you would like to introduce a marketing campaign. Funding. You would like to make your company public and get more money from the public. Operations, maybe you want to improve a process. So as you can see, these strategic goals, they can come from different areas, and these 5 areas are typically where your strategic goals come from. However, remember, I talked about value, and I would like to stress this point because it's very critical. You remember that value is very critical. Whenever you have value, and I want you to look at this sheet and really remember why innovation today is very critical. The reason we stress on the value in a business plan is that if you are unique in the market, you make lots of money. As you can see, you make all blue. You are in a very, very good position. But when buyer starts negotiating with you and suppliers start negotiating with you, the value that you used to bring in, you are not bringing it anymore. And when the rivals and the entrants and the substitute also come in, for example, your suppliers and the buyers, in addition to the rivals and entrants and substitute, they come in, your value gets less and less. So with time, with the entrance of competition, demands from suppliers, buyers asking for certain things, your value gets less. This means that your profitability gets less. The best way around it is create a business plan that you can change things around, make yourself unique. And this is why it is very critical, and I remind you that the business plan is not only one-time thing. A business plan is something that you do on a regular basis. And today, the business plan, you do it pretty much on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis because the market is changing so much. And whenever you make yourself unique, you see yourself in the blue area and you maximize your profit. So please remember this one. If I want to leave you with something, always be of value, always innovate and create. However, to create and innovate, you have to come up with a business plan. Now, but remember, whenever your idea comes in, you will always have buyers who will buy your idea, and these buyers are inside the company and outside the company. You will have suppliers who will supply you with the resources or supply you with the money or supply you with the raw material. You will have competition. You will have people who will come into the market and sometimes substitute product. And what do I mean by substitute product? The substitute product, for example, if I sell water, a substitute for water is soft drinks. A substitute for water is orange juice. So as you can see, substitutes are always around us, but we don't pay attention to them. So substitute is very important. And I would like to comment Ahmed on what he said. Yes, Ahmed, I agree with you. A business plan is a living document, and I can't agree with you more. And I want to thank you for reminding me of this. A business plan cannot be a static document. It has to be a live document. You have to update it all the time. So let's look now at the following slide, because this particular slide I love very hard, very well. Why? Because this is where you position yourself. Are you the kind of, does your business plan reflect cost leadership? This means that you are very good at managing cost. This means that you are very efficient. Or is it something that you would like to be unique? This means that you're differentiating yourself. Or is it something that you would like to tackle a specific segment? Okay, specific segment in the market. Could be very narrow, but it could be very profitable. So you see, I gave you some hints here. Let me test the water here and see if you are able to pick a company that can be in the cost leadership. Would anybody like to tell me what's a company that fit in the cost leadership window here? Let me see if somebody is able to spot something, or maybe differentiation window, or maybe segmentation window. Let me see. Let me see if anybody would like to share here some ideas. Okay. I'll give you 5 more seconds. I don't want to take a lot of your time as well, but I see that some participants are typing, and I don't want to ruin the moment for them. Let me see what kind of answer they're going to give. So again, can you think of a company, that fits in this window, cost leadership, one that fits in the differentiation, or one that fits in the segmentation? So first of all, we have from Ahmed, cost leadership. Well done, Ahmed. I think Coca-Cola does fit in this area. But I also have something in here. It says mobile phones, Apple. That's very good, and I like that quite a bit. Apple fits in the differentiation, and I think you guys know very well that Apple is very much into differentiating themselves, whether it is the operating system or the look of the Apple or the apps on the Apple. Very differentiated. But you might say, but Jamal, listen, isn't Samsung in the same area? Well, Samsung is there. Both of them are differentiators, and that's why Apple is always trying to innovate and be different than Samsung. And Samsung is always trying to catch up or make themselves different as well. So there's always this race between these two. But cost leadership is definitely something along the lines of our friends at Coca-Cola or Pepsi, maybe Toyota, So as you can see, this is very exciting world we live in. And I hope to see you, one of the people on this call, doing or making a company that belongs to one of these segments. However, you also can see the segmentation. And probably the segmentation is something, if you allow me, that maybe a company like Rolls-Royce is in the segmentation, because you are segmenting the market and saying, I'm going to serve this particular segment specifically, very narrow. You just cater to the Rolls-Royce audience, maybe Breitling, maybe something that you don't have many buyers, but at the same time, they are willing to pay for that product. So as you can see, if you are able to describe your niche, your market strategy, you can be in a very good position as long as you know which area to belong to. This is one of the things that Michael Porter came up with. So I want to give him credit, because he's one of my people I admire a lot when it comes to the world of strategy and management and planning. Now, that being said, as you can see here, this is what we call the value chain. So the value chain is something that looks at the inbound logistics, what you're bringing in, operations, how you're going to cook things or put things together, outbound logistics, how you push it out and into the warehouses or something like that. Then you have the marketing and sales, how do you market your product and then sell it. And then, of course, with the story of every product, whenever you sell it, you have to service it. Let me give you an example that's very nice. Whenever you decide on your value chain or the economics of value chain, you have to make some decisions here. And that's why a business plan is a reflection of your decision-making capabilities. You have to increase something, you have to decrease something, you have to create something, or you have to eliminate something. So let's say that you are working on a car. You won't like to come up with a car. So let's take Elon Musk, for example, and the Tesla. The reason that the Tesla is doing very well is because they increase the efficiency of the car, They decreased the emission of the car, the CO2 emission. They decreased it. As a matter of fact, probably some people said they eliminated. They created the electric car. Well, you might say, Jamal, you're not right. The electric car was created a long time back. That's very true. But the first car with a very nice shape that really attractive in the market, honestly, it was the Tesla. So that's why it became very successful. And then what did they eliminate? They eliminated probably the need to buy gas. So as you can see, when Elon Musk thought about the Tesla, that's what he did. He managed to increase the battery life. He managed to decrease CO2 emission. He managed to create, something new, something different, an attractive car, and he managed to eliminate the need to put gas. So when he looked at the value chain, which I talked about, he managed to say, how can I be different? So I like to ask each one of these on the call, can you think that way? And if you think that way, I am confident that you will come up with the new ideas. And this is what we call the economics of value chain. This means that you are able to say, what is it that in the market that I can make different, eliminate, decrease, or create? And once you do that, you can make lots of ideas, fantastic ideas. And of course, then comes the ideas of the challenge of getting the money, putting things together, and what have you. That being said, let's look now at the objectives, because we talked about the strategic goals. We said where you want to be. We talked about the buyers and the suppliers and everything. So now you need to get into the operation side. You need to get into your action plan. So here comes another sheet that I really like. So we talked about the definition of the strategic goals. Here comes the definition of objectives. And as you can see, here we are more on the practical side, more on the operational side, more on the execution side. And the reason I say this one is because when we talk about objectives, objectives are very specific. And you can see that whenever we talk about objectives, they have very, very specific elements in it. And we know what we have to do. We know what time we're going to do it. We know the resources we have. So that's why objectives usually are smart objectives. And that's why it's very important that when you write your objectives, they have to be very smart. Okay? And typically, for every strategic goal, you should have around 2 to 4 objectives. The criteria, they have to help you fulfill the strategy. They are more specific in scope, and they convert the goals into action. And this is why it's very important we talk about smart objectives here. And the reason I say smart objective, because you have done this many times, and this is just a reminder, your objective have to be specific, attainable, time-bound, measurable, and relevant. So how do I write smart objective? Now, I'm going to give you a very nice example because I love this example. And this is something that we spent some time at Meirc, and we said, how do you convert the word smart into something doable? Whenever you write a smart objective, we like you to start with a verb. So anytime you write a smart objective, action. Then you have to put the measure, which is the KPI. Then what is it that you want to achieve? The amount. Is it the target or the number? And then, of course, when you're going to achieve it. If you write your objective in this fashion, you can achieve some wonderful, wonderful smart objective, and they become doable. Now, when it comes to KPIs, by the way, you have some operational KPIs. This means that you are actually actioning your plan. Like, for example, measuring your output, how the initiatives are doing. An example, learning and growth can be in this area. And then, of course, your operational objective should support your strategic objectives. They also measure outcome. So where the operations measure output, we measure outcome on this side, like the financials, the customer satisfaction, and what have you. That being said, let's look at the following now. So when we talk about objectives, they have to be supported by initiatives, and the initiatives have to be supported by action plan. So as you can see, I'm taking you from the highest level of the vision all the way to the place where you are actioning your plan, because you have to show that your boss or the investor that I can do it. And this is where you take them through some additional steps. So the initiatives basically are the strategy and type of activities planned in order to execute the objective, while the action plan is basically the details behind the objective, the initiative. And we have here a one-to-one relationship. Every initiative should have an action plan. How would it look like? It would look something like this. So as you can see, many of you have done an action plan or a project plan, if you can say, where you have the initiative detail, the task duration, who is the owner, and what are the dependencies. So we learn a lot from project management, and we put it into action whenever we have a business plan. We want to execute it. At the end of the day, my dear friends, you have to have something looking like this. Look how beautiful this picture is. Look at the alignment. You have to have the vision, the mission, the strategic goals. Then you have to have your strategic objectives. You have the strategic KPIs, you have the targets, and then you have to have your initiatives and objectives and your operational KPIs and the target. Everything is lined up together. Everything is supporting each other. And it is very easy in this case to spot anything that's not working. So if your business plan is being executed and you see any error, you can spot it right away. Why? Because the strategic KPIs are telling you what's going on. The operational KPIs are telling you what's going on. And you should be able to fix things right away instead of taking time to fix things and then delaying to fix it, which causes you to, spend more money fixing on things in the long run. Now, that being said, how do we project out your business? Now, what happens in many cases is that when you are working with your boss, he will say, how much money are we going to bring? How many units are we going to sell? How many subscribers we're going to get? How many downloads we're going to have? So as you can see, what I already told you, these are all business projections. And you have to have a good sense of what you're going to see when you launch your product. When you launch a product, you launch an initiative, you launch an app, or you launch let's see, a food product. What you're going to sell, how much you're going to sell. And this is something that any manager or an investor would like to know, because if you convince them and the numbers are realistic, they will put their money and support behind your idea. So here we go. Here comes another question. And this is about forecasting, right? Projecting your numbers. Forecasting is very dangerous since it's never accurate and sets the wrong expectations. True or false? Let me see if you guys are good, because you have been keeping a very, very good track. And so forecasting is very dangerous since it is never accurate and sets wrong expectations. Maha jumps in and she beats everybody and she says false. And Maha, congratulations, well done. It is false, because you can have a fair amount of accuracy when it comes to forecasting. However, let me be fair to the people who said true. Forecasting is not is not always accurate science, but you can be extremely accurate and you can be very good at putting some solid numbers that will help you, direct your business and direct your efforts toward these numbers. But, remember, you are in a market that changes quite a bit. So that's where the inaccuracy comes in. But you can be relatively accurate. What does this mean? So let's look at the forecasting. Forecasting is extremely important because forecasting, it helps you in terms of your marketing effort. Which product should we produce? Which product we should discontinue? When it comes to the sales, it can help you define your quotas. So if you are in sales, and as you can imagine, if you are in sales, your sales target is defined by the forecast. Supply chain, how much products should we have in the warehouse? That's also decided through your forecast. Finance, how much money should we have? How much money should we spend? That's also decided by your forecast, and so on and so forth. So you can imagine why forecasting is very important, and why I agree with Ahmed and Maha that it's very important that you have a relatively accurate forecast. And that's why when you are managing your business, when you do a forecast, people are looking at your forecast and they're asking whether your forecast is good or not. So this takes us to the next slide. And this is where there are different ways to develop your forecast. Sometimes we develop it through the time series, which is the simplest one. You look at your history, you look at the seasonality, you look at the trends, and then basically you achieve some sort of a trend. And you say, based on the trend and the historical data, that's what I have. Sometimes you have something which is very, very, you can say, complicated. And there are some complicated tool over there that can help you put some very, very good forecasts, like the SPSS or something like that, not SPSS, but you can use SPSS for statistics. Oracle has some interesting forecasting tool. SAP has some very interesting forecasting tools. So, and if you have a very good team and you're able to, and you have some good numbers, you can also develop some econometric or some complex forecast behind your numbers. At the end of the day, you always can go with your judgmental method. This means that you're guessing, basically. And that's not very good, because that's where I agree with some of the people who said, no, it is true, where you're basically going by your whim. But when you develop a forecast, typically the graphs would look something like this. So as you can see here, we have a graph over here, and you can tell from period 0 to period 35, or from day 0 to day 35, what's happening. And as you can see, you have some sort of an upward trend. So I can go from here all the way here. I see there are some ups and downs, but in general, it's something upward. Now, what happens in between? Maybe market conditions, could be cyclical, could be people leaving for summer and then coming back, could be, for example, a high season, a vacation season, people are going for vacation and then going back home. So as you can see, these things happen. So when you're forecasting something, it's very important that you decide on it, you let the data talk, because, and the data you get it from the history, from extrapolation, or from you buy the data. At the end of the day, you have to develop some sort of forecast. This means that forecasting is very, very important. You can have it from a horizontal point of view, or a trend, or periodical, or a complex setup. Now, and it might look something like this. So as you can see, these are the 5 different ways, and there are many different other ways where you can put things together, and hopefully you should be able to come up with a proper forecast. Now that you have told people how much you're going to sell, and you told people, you know, what you think the market is all about, you have to ask for the money, right? So here comes the money. What kind of money do you ask for? And as you can see, this is a very critical and a very, very delicate area. Because what happens sometimes, if you do everything correctly, and then you don't speak the money language, your business plan will fall on its face. So that is why, my dear friends, you have to speak the money language. Everything that we've done before is very, very good, but you have to know the money. You have to know the cost of your product. You have to tell your manager or the investor your startup cost. You have to know how much your price should be if you are selling a product. You should be able to talk about maintenance fees if you have maintaining your product. So as you can see, this is very, very critical. So it's not enough to do whatever we talked about at the beginning. Now you have to speak the money. So what does this mean? Well, basically, this means that you have to see if you can answer the following question. We don't need to know your numbers when developing a business plan. If the idea is great, that should be enough. Well, I think I cheated here because I gave you the answer, but let's see. Ahmed jumps in and he says, true. We don't need to know your numbers when developing a business plan. If the idea is great, that should be enough. We have Imad saying false and Ahmed saying right or true. I have to stand by Imad here. So Imad, well done, my dear friend. Ahmed, what happened? Maybe you were too fast and you typed true instead of false. But that's okay, because you have to know the numbers. You cannot only speak about the idea and not talk about the numbers. So it's very important you speak the numbers. Well, so Ahmed is correcting me. Thank you, my dear friend. So here we go. What does it mean? Whenever you talk about your funding, the money that you want to bring in, you have to speak the now. What does it mean? Now means, how much money do I need to kick off my project? Then the future. How much money I need in the future in case I run out of money? It could be 5 years, could be 3 years. The other interesting part, which is very critical, what type of money do you want? Do you want a loan? Do you want cash? What is it that you want? And then the last thing is your strategy. And this is very, very critical. Where are you going to get the money from? Are you going to go for a fundraiser? Are you going to go for a franchise business? Are you going to do for a crowd financing? What is your strategy to get this money? So as you can see, you have to be very good in terms of convincing the others that, listen, I can get the money for you, and these are the numbers. And hopefully, if you convince people, you will get the numbers, and you will get the money. But I like to remind you of one thing. As much as your idea is good, you won't be able to move forward, probably not very far, without the money. Okay? So here we go. What are the things that we ask you to look at? You have to, whenever you do the number crunching, and you start spending your money and you're spending your principal so that you can get money going, eventually your manager, the investor, would like to say, okay, show me how much money did we get? This could be the income statement. They might say, are we balancing things out? This means that the balance sheet. Some people might say, what am I getting out of it? This could be the owner's equity. Some people might say, what's going in and what's going out? This means that this is your cash flow. So as you can see, you have to speak the money language, my dear friend, because if you speak the money language, you will go very, very far. So that being said, you also have to understand that at some stage, somebody will tell you, when will you make money? Because some initiatives or some ideas make money from day one. Maybe the cost is not that much, maybe it's very attractive. But most of the time, 90% of the time, if not more, you don't make money right away. So there is a point where things are gonna even out, and then after evening out, you're gonna start making money. That's what we call the break-even point. To get to the break-even point, you have to have a break-even analysis. You have to analyze based on the cost per goods and based on the price per goods, based on the expenses that you have incurred. You should be able to get an idea how many units I'm going to sell to make the break-even point, after which I'm going to make money. As you can see here, and I'm pointing at this triangle over here, this is loss. It's all loss over here. But you have to sell something, and you have to sell a number of units to get to this point where the profit is. Sometimes it might be 2 years, sometimes it's only a couple of months, depending on your idea that you are pushing. Now, at the end of the day, you have done your work, you have done very well, you have convinced people, you have managed to get the money, and of course, you have to provide some supportive material because you have done lots of research, right? That's where the appendix comes in. In the appendix, you tell the people about the research that you have done. You can go deeper into your plan. I might ask you, for example, okay, show me this. Show me how did you do your forecast. So you might be able to show me where you got the data from. So you might be able to show me that. Show me your market analysis. So you might be able to show me your market analysis. Lots of things you can put in the appendix because that is where the work that you have done, and it's a backup for you as well as for the investor. So this section is for the detailed data. You don't have to show it in your business plan, but you can show it in the appendix. Now, how do you implement your business plan? Well, we talked about your business plan and how you impact it. And here comes the question. Most business plans die peacefully in file cabinets. True or false? Maha is very fast, guys. Maha had a fantastic lunch and she has full of energy, and she answered, I also see, but that's very true. MashaAllah, all of you have had a good lunch. So it is true. Most business plans die peacefully in file cabinets. And I just want to tell you, don't let your plan die in the file cabinet. The fact that you're listening to this webinar, I hope that you managed to get some ideas how to make your plan vibrant, exciting, attractive, so it doesn't die in the cabinet. Because at the end of the day, when you do the work that I'm showing you here, you're going to attract somebody. Somebody's going to listen and say, you know what, I like your idea. So this takes us to how do we go about, implementing your plan. Whenever you implement a plan, you have to be able to communicate around it. You have to have some control mechanism, and you have to correct. What does it mean? You have to communicate it because you have to tell people how you're doing, your reports, whatever it is. Controlling, what does it mean? I think that you already know. Controlling means that if something goes wrong, how do I fix it? Okay? So you have to be able to control. This is where the measures are. Remember the KPIs we talked about? The KPIs serves you very well in the controlling phase. How about corrections? Well, I discovered something. Maybe I'm spending more money than I needed. How do I reduce my expenses? Maybe I need people. How do I hire somebody? So that's where the correction phase is. The correction phase is to correct some of the things that happen throughout the business plan, because things are going to happen. Regardless of what you do, things are not going to go as per plan. As a matter of fact, things rarely go as per plan. So it's very important that you are able to communicate your plan, control your plan, and correct your plan. That's why these three things are important in the implementation of your business plan. And when we talk about communication plan, this means that you should be able to communicate the job assignment. For example, Jamal, I would like you to handle the project. Reporting, I should be able to produce reporting. Knowledge base, I should be able to cover the knowledge base, means that I should be able to develop my people and their knowledge on how to do things. And that's very, very critical. This takes us to the following, where the controlling phase, we talk about deviations from the set goals. If you're deviating, you should be able to correct the route that you're taking or the course that you're taking. why things happened. Why did we lose money? Why the product did not go very well? Why did the idea did not flourish or did not generate as much income as you want to? So you should be able to go to the root cause. Feedback, getting it from the customer, getting it from your employees, getting it from your staff. Also, feedback is extremely, extremely important. And of course, the adjustments. Because you are in the controlling phase, you're adjusting things. And then, of course, we have our last one, which is the controlling phase. Means that you review your financial indicators, the implementation of your activities, the performance of individuals. So as you can see, this phase is extremely, extremely important. Now, that being said, that takes us to the correction, where we correct things. And corrections are not about shouting orders down at your people. That's not it. Correction means that you have to find ways, find solutions, find root cause, make sure that they are done expeditiously, decisively, very fast, so that your idea is growing and going very well. And they have to be reflected in the new release of the business plan. And I like to remind you here, remember what Ahmed told us. Ahmed told us that this has to be a living document, and that's why you might be producing different releases of your business plan as your business plan progress and you analyze or improve your business plan. And that's why it should be a living document. So thank you very much, my dear Ahmed. Well done, my dear friend. I love your the way that you're putting things. And as a matter of fact, this is one of the interesting interactive sessions. So I want to thank you all for your input. This is fantastic. I'm learning from you guys. That being said, don't forget that corrections can be around your goals. Maybe you might change your goals, and that will be very tough. Usually we don't change goals, but remember, if the market is changing, you might change your goals. The schedules, that happens quite a bit. I think that you know from your project that sometimes you change schedules. Budgets, yes, sometimes you ask for more money. Resources, well, some people leave, some people come, expertise change, so that's normal. But the toughest one is the goal, and if you start changing goals, this means that your business plan from the start was not very good. Try to limit the changes to the schedules and to the budgets or the resources, and make sure that you nail the goals from day one. Let me take you now to the last segment, which is reporting on the business plan. You know, this is very important. That's where you communicate with the investor or your managers or your board or whatever. It is very important you communicate on a regular basis. These could be the business reports, and they could be pertinent to the facts, figures, information, business matters, whatever you want. By the end of the day, reports come in different formats. Sometimes analytical, you're analyzing a situation. Informational. Basically, it's for information, guys. This means that I'm just sending this report for information. I don't need anything from you. Analytical, you might be telling them what's going on, so they might give you some feedback. Recommendation and research, it could be that I need some assistance or I need some decision, or you might be telling them that we're going to go this direction. What do you think? For example, you might be opening a business in another country and you need their support. So you might be recommending that we start a new business in Spain or in Egypt or something like that. So you can see the different types of reports. And it's very important to remember that these reports come in different shapes and forms. But the reports, you have to make sure you remember who is getting it. And that is why we talk about stakeholders. Remember the stakeholders. Remember. Because your stakeholders can be very influential. Whether it is your boss, whether the executive, whether it is the supplier, whether it is the press, please make sure that the documents are accurate and that they are produced in time, because people anticipate these things. This means that at the end of the day, they have to be clear and they have to avoid confusion. So remember, you don't want to confuse people, and that's why you're putting all of this effort to make sure that people are not confused and they like your business plan. So it's very important that you cover the overall of in your report, what's going on, give them an idea. Milestones. Did we open a shop? How many units have we sold? What are the issues we're facing? For example, maybe we have people leaving, we're having a hard time hiring people, whatever that is. So these reports reflect different areas of your business. That being said, you might be able also to several attributes, focus on your business on several attributes. For example, the content, the format, the production when you produce it, the release. So remember, the reports basically reflect the quality of your work. That being said, Also, your reports might be a mix between the frequency. Some of them are produced on a daily basis, some of them on monthly basis, some of them on quarterly basis. So you have to make sure that this is going very well. Now, my dear friends, this is the end of my webinar. I want to thank you for the effort that you have put here. I enjoyed your presence tremendously. These are some books that you can buy and you can get your hands on. A very good book. A lot of them are in ebooks, or you can audio or podcast. Make sure you download them or buy them. But most importantly, you can also attend some of our courses. So I'm holding a course coming up in September, and we also have some courses in Arabic and in English. This course is very popular for us, but I do like to stay in touch with you. This is our website. This is my LinkedIn account. And if you want my email, it's right over here. I love to hear from you. But if you like to have a copy of this presentation, I can send it to you via PDF. Just send it to jsaeed@meirc.com, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of this presentation. I want to thank you all for a wonderful, wonderful interaction, and I hope I stay in touch with you. Well done to all, and take care and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend if you're celebrating your weekend. Otherwise, have a wonderful afternoon. Take care and talk soon.
Meirc.com